Well, hello everyone. Welcome. It's been a long time since I've done a live stream. I can't believe that my last one was in January. So, sorry. I anyway, here I am, and I don't really have anything particular that I wanted to talk about. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of don't just get on and do live streams because I always think I need to have something, like something all worked up and beautifully presented and all of that. But I realize that sometimes it's just nice just to hang out with each other and to encourage each other, especially in the chat there, and also to give people an opportunity to ask some questions. And I do want to touch on just one little thing today that was in the thumbnail, and it's about um, uh, transitions. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And welcome everyone. I'm seeing people showing up there over there in the chat, and really appreciate it when you come on and just say hey and let me know that you're here. And I see people kind of from all over the world. Hi, Vinny and Lady D and Danielle and Carol and Teresa, Brian, um, people from all over. John, nice to see you. Nice to see you over there at Narrow Road Music. Bless you. Um, I don't know if that's Robin or Phyllis, but assuming it's Robin. And Charlotte, everyone, just so thankful to be able to spend some time fellowshipping with you all here on my little YouTube channel today. So if you have something that you would like to ask, a question, or you want to just sort of make an observation about something I've said in a recent video, you can do that. And I just ask that you use all caps so that I can actually catch what it is, the question you're asking or the comment that you're making. And if I can answer it, I will. Now, I can't answer everything, but I can at least give you my opinion. So, welcome everyone. And God bless you. I'm just praying that we have a wonderful time as the Spirit moves and leads us in our discussion today, whatever that may be. We sort of hand it off to the Lord and just let Him guide our thoughts and stuff. So I'm seeing a question from Debbie Morris. Estimated time for my new book release. Well, I had people edit it, and then I gave it to my main editor, and then he sent it back to me, and then I had kind of waited like 2 weeks before I read it again. So then I read it, and then I went, I got to change so many things here. I got to add some things. There's places where it's confusing. So I redid parts of it, and then I just recently got it back. I think it was on Sunday from Kevin. So I'll be looking at it this week, and hopefully there aren't a lot of more changes that have to be made. So if that's the case, then it would just be a couple of weeks. So anyway, welcome everyone. So good to have you here. Oh, hi, Marcus. Great to see you today in Switzerland. And Helen asks, is war coming to the USA? Well, war is coming, and that's a fact. And there is no way around that. War is coming. And right now, as I speak here on March 26th, we have the United States has 6 stealth fighter jets, aircraft, either in Diego Garcia or on their way to Diego Garcia, which is within strike range of both Yemen and Iran. So, they have parking spaces there until May 1st, but whether that's relevant date or not, I don't know. But I think that things are really heating up all over the world. So, war is going to break out, and I don't see how the United States can not be affected. We will be affected by it. It's a given. How that is has yet to be determined what it's going to look like. So, Susie, do I think the underground tunnels under the pyramids are from the Nephilim? Well, if they're for reals and it's a real legit story, well, they aren't from us. They'd have to be from some others, more advanced people, fallen angel technology, Nephilim, and so on. So, Brian, question. I'm seeing people say we could go this spring, and I say fall. Well, there are a lot of people who, and I listen to them. I love them, my brothers and sisters who are, calling for a spring rapture, um, you know, uh, a jubilee, declaration of a jubilee or whatever for spring, and particularly spring this year, and I don't see it. But here's the good news. We'll know within a few days or a few weeks whether or not this is true or not. I have like I think it's like pretty much like 0% that that's going to be the case. So but people can be encouraged, if they wanna, you know, keep that rapture fatigue going. Personally, I think we're waiting for the fall, and hopefully this fall, it's looking pretty positive. Charlotte for Jesus. In the scripture, many are called, few are chosen. Are we, firstborn, the chosen that he speaks of? I think so. The chosen are the elect. They're the ones that belong to God. And so, yes, I believe that we are the chosen. So, boy, lots of questions today. Danielle Rice, how to approach a prayer group that says they aren't looking or watching, just living their lives. Um, and I think there's a little typo there. Um, oh, how do I proceed in reiterating they also need to watch? It's mind-boggling to me. Okay, so here's the thing, and I'm going to be doing a video on this. I'm currently working on a on a video, and it'll probably again be a small series, sort of like the Passover prophecy video series was, and it requires just a lot of thinking, thought processes, and so on and so forth. But one of the things that I want to cover in this new video series is the idea that eschatology is the core of theology. So a lot of people in church, they're just very happy to say, well, I love Jesus. Jesus died, saved me from my sins. I'm born again, whatever. Preachers are preaching, how you can have a better marriage or a better life, or, how you can evangelize your neighborhood. And it's all very current stuff. It's, where we live right now. And for the most part, unless you go to a funeral or something, nobody really talks about the eschatological, that is the end time applications or for all of theology. Okay, God is moving all everything we read in the Bible from Genesis up through Revelation. Everything is moving toward an appointed end. And like I was sharing with our little fellowship group on Sunday, that what's happening is God has an appointed end, and we read about that in Revelation. He's already told us where all this is headed. Okay, the reason why Jesus died, and God's gathering people to Himself, and so on. And we know what the end is. We can read about it in Revelation. People don't really teach on Revelation. People don't talk on eschatology. But when you go to a funeral, people will talk about, our brother so and so is in heaven, or, I sure hope that, Joe the alcoholic didn't end up in hell somewhere, or something like that. And we tend to be very binary in the way we think about eternal destiny. And I've talked about eternal destiny many, 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 many times on my various videos. And this is where, we think that our eternal destiny is either going to heaven or going to hell. And we don't understand that it's it's bigger than that. In fact, those are two places that no person is going to end up in ultimately because the new Jerusalem will come down to a new earth. We're going to live in the new Jerusalem. So we don't end up in heaven forever. And hell is not, um, well, I've talked about hell in other places. There is a lake of fire that's for the devil and his angels. And there is a place outside the city that we refer to as outer darkness. And that is a place of weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth for people who don't go into the lake of fire, but yet are not going to be allowed into the holy city. And everything that God is doing from Genesis to Revelation is leading toward a prophesied result. And we're part of that. If we're believers, we are headed toward that direction of those things God has talked about. And to not talk about eternal destiny or to not talk about, um, you know, you know, God's plan, which isn't just like for today. God has a very, very big plan. He's involved you and me in it. And that plan is requiring things of us right now that really don't have a lot to do with, you know, whether I have happy children or, a good marriage or any of that. It had these things are much bigger. And so if people aren't interested in eschatology, I even wonder, are you interested in God? Are you interested in knowing about the Lord? Because he has revealed his plan to us. This is a favor he's done to us because we're his children and he loves us. So he's showing us these things. And for people to say, well, I'm not really interested. Thank you, God, but no, thank you. I don't really want to know. I mean, that's kind of insulting to God. So that's my perspective. Um, and, if people don't want to know, or they don't want to think about this stuff, they just don't want to. And I don't really know if there's a magic way of persuading people who do not want to be persuaded. So, um, anyway, I don't know if I have answered your question, Danielle, or not, but I certainly feel your frustration, and yeah, I've been there myself. So Emily, hi Emily. She has a question. Could I expound on this verse in Acts 16:31? Um, based on my Passover prophecy series and the house and the others in the house. Okay. Not sure I know the question, but let me see what's in Acts 16. Acts 16:31. Okay. And this is the story of when Paul and Silas went to a place where they started a church with a gal named Lydia, and then they cast a demon out of somebody and they were thrown into prison. And while they were there in prison, there was a great earthquake, and the jailer, okay, this is the Philippian jailer, um, took them to his house and brought them out. And then he asked them, men, what must I do to be saved? Okay. And so they said, believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, you and your household. And they spoke the word of the Lord to him, to all that were in his house. And he took them the same hour of the night and washed their wounds, and he was baptized at once with all his family. So I think what you're doing is making a comparison between the symbolism of the house in the Passover story, which has multiple layers of meaning, which I don't think I'm going to go into right now, because that would, if people are interested, they can watch the Passover prophecy video series. And we're making an application between that and this man and his household. I don't really know if I can answer your question just, like, off the top of my head here. I know what's going on in both, the Passover symbolism, and I can see what's going on here. And the fact is, I think in the Philippian jailer's case, when they were preached to, not only did the jailer, but everybody that was in the house heard the words of Paul and Silas, and everybody believed, and so everybody was saved. So I don't know if I really answered your question or not, but hopefully I did. Okay, so here's your other part. Basically, can our other family members be saved if we, the firstborn, are in or of the house with them? Okay, so here's the thing. I think, I hate to say it so bluntly because people are going to call me a heretic here, and or they're going to call me a universalist, and I'm not. I don't believe everybody has the same destiny, okay, which is basically what universalism is. But I think the gospel message has been totally distorted, okay, mostly because we have this binary, you're either going to heaven or you're going to hell kind of thinking. And that's not scriptural, okay? And there are many, many passages that talk about Jesus died for the salvation of the world, and in particular passages in Romans chapter 5. For as many as are in Adam, all are in Adam, all are in Christ, all are dead in Adam. All have been consigned to sin. So Paul says, so that God can have mercy on everyone. Here's the bottom line, is that there are a few exceptions to this, but by and large, if you're in Adam, you are also in Christ. If death comes through Adam, life is going to come through Christ. People are going to be saved. This is the gospel message. Jesus died to save humanity. Here's the additional good news. So it's not just good news of salvation. Here's the other good news, and this is the other good news is what people are sharing, and that is that not only are you saved from the wrath of God through the merits of Christ, but you also have an opportunity to become a child of God, to be adopted into his family, to be a joint heir with Christ, to end up with not just a terrestrial body on the new earth, but a celestial body, and that you will be a part of that divine community. So not only are people saved, but they're saved. There's additional good news that they can be a part of if they want to. That is the choice we're making now. It's not so much, are we going to be saved? It's, do we want to become a child of God? Are we sensing that God is calling us, that we can say yes to him, that we can be born again of the Spirit of God and become adopted into his family? So um, anyway, the gospel truly is good news. So even though there's firstborn in the house at Passover time, remember the Jews, the Israelites, excuse me, were to go into the house, put the blood on the doorpost and lintel of the house. But what the scriptures tell us is that the blood only was for the firstborn, so that the firstborn wouldn't die. There were other people in the house, though, and everybody who is in the house would be delivered from Pharaoh, who's a type of Satan, from Egypt, which is a type of the world. They would cross over the Red Sea. And most of those people, though, did die in the wilderness, okay, because they didn't have faith. But the point is this, is that everybody in the house would be saved, but the firstborn had a special relationship with God. God told Moses later that the firstborn belonged to him. So here is something that God is always doing. Okay, he has a larger group. Okay, so like all the people in the world, and then he chooses a particular people group, in this case, the nation of Israel, to belong to him. And then out of the nation of Israel, he chooses all the firstborn to belong to him. And then out of the 12 tribes, he chooses the tribe of Levi to replace the firstborn. God is always calling people out, okay? Smaller groups, remnant groups of people to belong to him in a special way. So that is what the thing about the firstborn in Egypt is all about. They needed redemption. Okay. You and I need redemption as God's firstborn. So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but um, okay. Danielle said I did answer her question. Good. Um, great. Um, Carol Mitchell. Hi, Brenda. I'm fairly new Christian, and my question is, will the whole world spread out be the new Jerusalem, or will our earth be downsized to just Israel size and area? Okay, so I'm assuming that you're talking about not the millennium when Christ rules, because that will be on this present earth, but um, the new creation when God creates a new heaven and a new earth, and the new Jerusalem comes down out of heaven to the earth. I think that when the new earth is created, it's going to be gigantic. I think it's going to be huge because there's going to be so many billions of people living on it. So the new earth is going to be gigantic. And I don't know that there is going to be a nation of Israel on the new earth. I don't know. I think that what God does is he takes the nation of Israel, the people, the Israeli people of faith, and they become his new sons who are in his presence in the New Jerusalem, because we're going to move from sonship into being a bride. So that's sort of how I think that'll play out. But anyway, I think the earth is going to be really, really big. Amanda Adam asks, what are believers doing in heaven right now? Well, they're in God's presence in their spirit. They are aware. They're probably just enjoying being there, being with the Lord, being in that place. And I think there is a kind of fellowship they can have from one spirit being to another. So it's very likely that they could even interact with Old Testament saints and so on. So we aren't really told what they're doing. We can only just sort of extrapolate from, kind of what we read about them, the dead in Christ, from other places. So I think they're having a good time. I have friends and family there that are with the Lord right now, and I have every confidence that they're enjoying their time with the Lord and with each other too. So I hope that gives you encouragement. All right. So let's see if there's any other questions that we have there. I'm not seeing any more in caps. Oh, there's one. When Jesus comes in clouds and the cloud of witnesses. Oh, okay. So the question is, when Jesus comes in a cloud, and then the book of Hebrews talks about the cloud of witnesses that are watching us. Are they related to each other? No, they're not related to each other, that I know of. The context of the cloud of witnesses who are watching us, those are the Old Testament saints that Hebrews 11 is talking about, and how their life is giving us encouragement. And actually, let's just go ahead and read it so we can see it in the context there. It always helps. And I think that's probably in Hebrews chapter 12, where it talks about the cloud of witnesses, chapter 12, verse 1. Uh, let's back up to Hebrews 11, though. So it's talking about the faith of the Old Testament people. Okay. And verse 39 says, and all these, though well attested by their faith, did not receive what was promised, since God has foreseen something better for us, that apart from us, they should not be made perfect. So they are going to receive their full inheritance at the same time we do. So none of these individuals have glorified, or I shouldn't say glorified, that's the wrong word. None of these individuals have celestial bodies yet. They do not have their resurrection bodies yet. They're waiting for us, and we're going to do it all at the same time. Chapter 12, verse 1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, that is, those Old Testament people of faith who are in heaven, uh, cheering us on, I suppose, let us also lay aside every weight, just like they did. Okay. Every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with perseverance, just like they did, the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. So that cloud of witnesses is really, it's just um, these Old Testament saints, these Old Testament saints who by their lives gave us such good encouragement that no matter what came into their life, they persevered. They lived a life of faith, even through hardship. And it talks about how some of these um, some of these people in chapter 11, verse 35. It says, women received their dead by resurrection. Some were tortured, refusing to accept release that they might rise again to a better life. Others suffered mocking and scourging and even chains and imprisonment. They were stoned. They were sawn in two. They were killed with the sword. They went about in skins of sheep and goats, destitute, afflicted, ill treated, of whom the world was not worthy, wandering over deserts and mountains in dens and caves of the earth. And all of these, though well attested by their faith, did not receive what was promised. Okay, they didn't receive it then. They're going to receive it when we all receive it together. So I suppose in that way, when Jesus comes on a cloud, okay, to change us, that cloud of witnesses will also receive their resurrection body. That's the kind of the only connection that I could see there. But it's a good question. It really is. Thank you for asking it. Um, Philip Goins, are near-death experiences of hell valid? Since I've been taught that hell or heaven is final and there's no coming back. Okay, so um, this is a topic that I probably need to revisit probably again, because it's one that basically came out of Catholicism. So Catholicism taught that there's heaven, you go to heaven. Well, only saints really go to heaven. Otherwise, most people go to purgatory. It's a place they invented, and hell is the other place. And hell, it has been conflated with many other places in the Bible. And the King James Version of the Bible did not help us here, because rather than use the correct Greek word, like either Gehenna or Sheol or Hades, they use the word hell. And hell sort of became a catch all for every single bad place that people could go to. So, in the example of the rich man and Lazarus, we see that there is a place, and I think it's called hell, but it's actually Hades or Sheol. It's a temporary holding place for the spirits of the dead. Okay, anybody who died before Christ was resurrected, anybody who died went to this temporary holding place, and the King James calls it hell, but it's not. It's Sheol. And Sheol or Hades, that's the Greek word for it. Sheol is the Hebrew term. Hades is the Greek term. This place is actually going to be cast into the lake of fire at the time of the great white throne judgment, or just prior to that. So it's a temporary place that isn't going to go on into eternity. And it's the place where people are awaiting final judgment. Okay, the final judgment. And the final judgment for everybody except Christians is at the great white throne. Now, the people who end up in the bad part of this place that has two compartments, the people who end up in the bad part are in torment. Okay, they're in torment there. There is no innocent till proven guilty. Um, it's just a matter of, how guilty are you? And the books will be opened and people will be judged according to what is written in the books. Okay, and most of those people who are populating the bad part of Sheol will probably end up not in the lake of fire, because that's prepared for the devil and his angels. And these people didn't take the mark of the beast, which also is a requirement for ending up in the lake of fire. They'll end up in another place. And that is also a place of regret. It's of weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth, but it is not the lake of fire. It's the place outside of the city. It's the place that Jesus calls outer darkness. Okay, it's not the lake of fire, but it is a place of regret, of weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. Okay, it is not a good place. You do not want to end up there. Now, the other part of this temporary holding place where the good people are, the good people in that part, it's called Abraham's bosom. That's what Jesus called it. And there were two kinds of good people in that place. There are people who are just, they live according to the light of their conscience. If they didn't know the law, if they lived under the law of Moses and they uh, did what was right, Jesus says that they were good people. Okay. Uh, Lazarus went to that place. Was he a justified person? No, but he was a good person. So he went to that place. Now, after Jesus died and he went into the grave, okay, his body went in the grave and his spirit went to Sheol. It went to the place of the dead. And there are two groups of good people in the place of the dead, in the good part. One of them are people of faith, like we read about in Hebrews 11. Abraham and Isaac and Abel and Moses, and these are people of faith. Okay, they are people that Jesus took with him as first fruits when he was made alive in the spirit while his body was still in the grave, and he was brought in the spirit into heaven, and he brought these other people with him. He didn't bring every single good person who was in the good side of Sheol, or the place of the dead. He brought people of faith with him. And that was that sheaf that he presented to God, his first fruits offering to his father. So there are, Sheol is still populated. Okay, but after Christ died, any person of faith does not go there. They go to be with the Lord in heaven. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So now there are basically three places for dead people to go. If you are a believer, your spirit goes to heaven. If you're a good person, your spirit goes to the good side of Sheol. If you are a wicked person awaiting kind of not good judgment, you will go to the bad side of Sheol, where you're going to be in torment until the final judgment of those people. Okay, we've, as believers, have already passed from death to life. We don't have a final judgment. Okay, we have a bema seat judgment, which is about works. We're judged for, the things that we've done, how we've built on this foundation that we've been given. But the people who are in Sheol, all those people will be resurrected. And then Revelation tells us the books are opened, and the book of life, and then the books of what people have done. And if your name is in the book of life, okay, you will go on to live on the new earth. And my understanding of the book of life is that if you are in Adam, that is, you are a real person, your name is in the book of life. Now, what happens once you know, aren't aren't thrown into the lake of fire, but you go to live on the new earth, is you have there are positions. There are people who are going to be kings, and they're going to bring their glory into the New Jerusalem. And there are going to be people who, once they're on the other side, are going to have their name blotted out of the book of life. And that has consequences, because what it means is they can never enter the holy city. They can never enter the New Jerusalem. You have to have your name in the book of life to enter the New Jerusalem. And we know that it's possible to have your name blotted out of that book. And that is one of the terrifying consequences that we read about in the letters to the seven churches, that there is a church, and they're told that if they change their ways and do what's right and overcome, that their name won't be blotted out of the book of life. But the fact is that you can be a Christian or a non-Christian and have your name blotted out of the book of life. If you're a Christian, it's because of extreme apostasy. Read about it in 2 Peter chapter 2 and in Jude. Um, it is not good. And Jesus also told the scribes and Pharisees, the people who were living in his day, that if they couldn't see that he was the Son of God, that God would choose other people to be a part of the kingdom, and they would be thrust out of the kingdom, and they would be watching other people dining in the presence of the patriarchs, and they would be outside. And again, this is a picture of outer darkness, of that place outside the city where people are going to live in a constant state of regret. So as far as near-death experiences of hell, well, people may have near-death experiences of them going into Sheol, into the bad part, where it's a place of torment. It is very much a place of torment, but it is not the final judgment. They await that at the great white throne judgment. So that was a long answer for a simple question. So any other questions here? Today. Okay, John boldly proclaiming his power. Sister Brenda, is a resurrection body the same as a transformed body from mortal to immortal and corruptible to incorruptible? Yes, a resurrection body. There are two kinds of resurrection bodies. Paul talks about terrestrial bodies and celestial bodies. We will have a celestial body, which is a heavenly body that's like Jesus' body, the man of heaven. And the people who live on the new earth will also have a resurrection body that is immortal, I believe, and it is a terrestrial body. It's a different kind of, well, it'll be different than the one we have. So, okay. So, Mamie Meeks. I came in late. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here, Mamie. I have a friend who told me she believes in God, but she does not believe Jesus was his son. And she asked if she is wrong if she's going to hell. How would you answer that? I'm okay. So when you're saying hell, I'm assuming you're meaning the lake of fire. Okay, because again, there's two places of regret. One is the wrath of God in eternal damnation, where the devil and his angels will be cast along with anyone who takes the mark of the beast and the false prophet and the demons and the fallen angels and the hybrids all go to the lake of fire. Okay, and that place has not been prepared for people. Okay, so there's another place that's prepared for people who who reject Christ. Okay, so here's the thing. There is a hierarchy on the new earth. Okay, and I believe that people who say they believe in God but they don't have faith in Jesus, I don't know where they're going to end up in the hierarchy. I don't think they end up in outer darkness, because that seems to be a place that's reserved for uh people who've been confronted with the truth, like the people in Jesus' day who saw his miracles, who heard him preach, who came face to face with the Son of God. And then they walk away, or they say that's not God, or if he is the Son of God, I don't want to have anything to do with him. Well, that's really big and really bad. Okay. And outer darkness is for those people. And I think uh there's a hierarchy, of people who, they're basically good people. They believe in God. Um, their doctrine, they don't know about Jesus being God's son, and they're just not interested. Okay, basically that's it. Will they go to hell? I think they're going to be at the low end or the middle to lower class end of the hierarchy of positions on the new earth. Okay, you know they're not going to be cast out or cast away as far as outer darkness, but they're not going to be, you know I think they'll in the end they're going to be sad that they didn't choose Jesus, because the position that we have is so far elevated above the people who are just saved. They're saved from eternal damnation. It's going to be good for them. And Peter says that, if you are going to be a believer and then apostatize, it would be better for you if you'd never believed, because at least people living on the new earth will be able to go into the New Jerusalem and eat from the tree of life. They'll have access to that. Whereas these other people, like truly evil, wicked people who, got saved and then totally apostatized, they're going to be outside. So will she be in she won't be in the lake of fire unless she takes the mark of the beast, which she'll probably be, if she's still living when all the bad stuff happens, she probably won't make it through anyway. But um, does she risk outer darkness? Possibly. Is it likely that she would end up in that place? I say probably not. Um, Probably not. She'll just be kind of regretting her decisions now if she doesn't come to the Lord. But as far as how to answer her, I don't know how I would answer her. I would just say, well, I'm glad you believe in God. And, I'll just be praying that you will understand who Jesus is. I guess that's what I would say. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, I just saw your question, Rue, from Melinda Henson. Okay. From Psalm 55. Does David prefigure the rescue of the remnant into the wilderness? Oh, that's a great question. Let me look. I don't know. We'll see. It's always it's fun to find something new. Wow. Kind of a long psalm there. Um, oh, okay. So I think the part that you're probably referring to, and by the way, looks like a messianic psalm down in verse 13. It's messianic, of Jesus being betrayed by Judas. Um, but probably verses like 4 through 8 talks about fear and trembling that seizes David. Um, that he had wings like a dove, he'd fly away and be at rest, lodging in a wilderness. I would haste to find me a shelter from the raging wind and tempest. Um, I don't know that it's particularly prophetic. I think there's application for the remnant, but I don't know that it's particularly prophetic of the remnant. There's a lot of other ones that are like really clear that we're talking about the remnant, but that's a very interesting passage. And I had kind of forgotten too that this was a messianic um, psalm, and there's actually a couple places in this psalm that you might want to just read and look at how it's prophetic of Jesus. Yeah, pretty great psalm. So, all right. So, any other questions? Okay, seek and find. Um, Good morning, Brenda. I'm glad I'm here. Well, I'm glad you're here too, even though a little late. Please help me out with this verse. Many gospel presentations at church use Revelation 3:20. Okay, and I know what you're talking about. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. And people use that verse as an invitation to receive Christ as their savior. Um, yeah, I am not sure why people started using that verse, but it became very popular, and there are people who still use it. Um, and then Seek and Find says this verse is for the church of Laodicea, not for us, correct? Well, all 7 letters, in my estimation, and again, I could be wrong, but I kind of don't think so. I think all of the 7 letters are written to the 144,000 of Israel, that it has application especially to them. And it has to do with the dangers of living compromised lives, and they need to overcome. Okay, we are not a part of any of those churches specifically because they're end time, like after we're gone kind of churches. We will already be raptured when the warnings and the promises that are listed in the letters to the 7 churches are have specific application. It's for the 144,000 of Israel. Now, the promises that are there um, kind of go to us too, because the 144,000 are Christian and we're Christians. They have promises, we have promises, and so on. But uh, the Church of Laodicea is a church of the people, and they think they're very self-sufficient. They're so self-sufficient they don't need Jesus. Okay, and they can't be that way. They need to see that Jesus needs to come into the middle of their meeting. So in that sense, it isn't written to us particularly. So yeah, and stop using that verse, Revelation 3:20, as a gospel presentation. So Susie, do you believe that those whose spirits are in heaven have even a better view of what's taking place here on earth? I think so. Actually, I do think so. We know that the 24 elders, when they're in heaven, they have an awareness of what is going on the earth, and so they're praying and interceding for the people who are on earth. So I do think that they have a better awareness of what's going on. Uh, yeah, that's just my thinking. Any other questions that you have? So, Carlene, oh, you've been sick for 2 months and I'm writing a book. Well, I hope you're feeling better. 2 months is a long time to be sick. Oh my goodness. I hope you're feeling better. All right. Any other questions? Okay. If not, I'm just going to talk just a little bit about the title that was in the splash screen of this video, which I'm going to have to go look at now because I forgot what I wrote on there. It says Kingdoms in Transition. All right. And yes, Janet, I can see you there. So um, I can see your comment. Uh, Kingdoms in Transition. So I've had this problem that I wasn't sure how to address this problem. And the problem being people talk about the tribulation, and they talk about a 7-year tribulation and 3.5 years of great tribulation. And tribulation is used as the sort of the catch-all term for basically the time of the end, when the world transitions from the world we're living in right now to a time when it's going to be under the reign of the beast. Okay, so it's this time of tribulation. And what's happened is um, people have focused on all the bad things that are going to happen to people. They call them the wrath of God. It's not really the wrath of God. The wrath of God will be toward the end, just before Jesus returns. But the thing is, I don't like calling that time period the tribulation. And so a lot of times I'll just go, well, the time period that people refer to as the tribulation, or that's commonly known as the tribulation. And I could never think of a good word to use instead of tribulation. And the other day I think it was when I was making that little kind of short 3.5 minute video, I used the word transition and I went, that's the word. It's transition. That's the word. What's happening during the time of the end is there's going to be 2, maybe 3 major transitions. And what we're doing is what's happening is there's transitions of kingdoms. Kingdoms are who is running the show is there's a transition. Okay, it's like when you have a president that you elect, you have a new administration coming in. Well, there is going to be a new administration coming in. We are going to be transitioning from the world that we know now, and the world is going to transition into the reign of the beast. And here's the part of the reign of the beast that people do not talk about. They do not talk about, for the most part, the idea and the fact that, and Revelation talks about this, is that every single fallen entity is going to be living on the earth. Okay, every single fallen angel will no longer have access to heaven. They won't be there. They're going to be here on earth. And every single fallen entity, fallen angel, corrupted angel who's been imprisoned in the pit is going to be released onto the earth. All the demons are going to be here. Okay. The angels that are bound at the river Euphrates are going to be here. Satan is going to be here. All of these fallen ones are going to be infesting the earth. And this is going to be the kingdom where Satan is going to be, the kind of the fake God the Father. His son, the beast, is the fake Christ, and the false prophet is the fake Holy Spirit. The image of the beast is going to be fallen angels who come out of the pit. Okay, like remember, the beast is a real person who is going to die and then come back to life with Apollyon, the king of the angels of the bottomless pit, who's going to indwell him. The beast who ascends from the bottomless pit, the beast who rises from the sea of death. They're going to merge together into this one person. And yeah, and then all of his buddies from the pit are going to want to also be in the image of the beast, who is a human being whose body has been co-opted by a fallen angel. All of those beings are going to be, um, on the earth as well. And if you don't worship them, you can be uh, uh, killed, beheaded, whatever. So when we talk about the image of the beast, we're not talking about a statue. Just like we're in the image of Christ because his spirit lives inside of us, those who are in the image of the beast will be indwelt by other fallen entities from the bottomless pit. They will be these hybrid beings. Okay, that's what the image of the beast is. And everything in the end times has a correlating reference in God's kingdom. So if you have Christ, you have the Antichrist. If you have God, you have to have the anti-God, who is Satan. Okay, and this is the satanic kingdom, the satanic millennium, as it will, as if you want to think about it that way. It has to do with Jesus is going to set up a millennium where everybody has to honor him as Lord. The beast is going to have his version of a millennium. It's not going to be 1,000 years long, though. It's going to be cut short. It's going to be 3.5 years, way short. Okay. But this is the kingdom that's going to be established here on earth when we transition from the harlot system that we're under, which is a mixture. Okay. And we transition into this next coming kingdom. And during the major transition phase, before the beast actually begins to reign, angels are coming to earth, and people, believers, are headed into heaven. Okay, they're going to be in heaven. They're the heaven dwellers. And God, in his mercy, is going to make sure that most people who are not believers are actually killed. It's safer for them to be in the place of the dead than it will be to be on the earth. Okay? Than to be on the earth. This is an act of mercy. So when a quarter of the people are killed by famine and sword and all of that, you can think that's the wrath of God. It's not. It's God in his mercy is making sure that they are not going to be here during the reign of the beast. And then on the day when the beast actually begins to reign, that's the sixth trumpet judgment, 1 hour on a single day when Babylon falls, when a third of the earth's population is killed. Again, God's mercy. So the transition is going to be from this harlot system that we've been living under since the Tower of Babel. It's going to go into the beast kingdom. It's not a system, it's a kingdom. Okay. It's like, Jesus isn't going to have a system. Jesus is going to have a kingdom. A kingdom is its own thing. You rule by decree and fiat and all of that. You rule just by what you want to say. It's not a system set up, of no. It's a kingdom. And the beast and the false prophet and Satan are going to be running the show. And underneath them are those beings who are in the image of the beast. Okay. And this is going to be a kingdom. Okay. And we're transitioning into that kingdom. Now, the thing is the beings, including all the fallen angels and everybody, the beast, and all the people who are living during that fake millennium, they're going to think that this is how the ultimate destination is of God's plan, that God somehow failed in his plan. And yes, believers are in heaven. Yes. And yes, there are people in the place of the dead, but they got the earth. Okay. They got it, and they got it locked down, and they're going to run the earth for however long they think they can do it, like forever. And that's where they're wrong because at the end of the 3.5 years, Jesus is going to return with us, and Jesus is going to throw the beast and the false prophet alive into the lake of fire. And this is another reason why we know that we're not in the millennium, is those creatures, those entities should be in the lake of fire. We should know where the lake of fire is. It should be full of demons and fallen angels and all of that. Because remember, when Christ starts his kingdom, there is nothing in his kingdom except for people who will obey him. Okay, there aren't going to be fallen angels or demons influencing anyone. Okay, that's a part of the deal. And so this was the big aha moment that I had a couple years ago, when all of a sudden I realized that this time of tribulation, which is actually a time of transition, is is about God defeating the fallen entities, right? It's not about him, wanting judgment on, anybody who doesn't believe in him. That's not it. That judgment doesn't occur till the great white throne judgment. The people who are judged are people who side with the beast. Okay, and they will be judged. That's true. And the people who are part of that harlot system, which it is a system, it's a hierarchical system of control, they're going to be killed. But again, their judgment is going to be at the great white throne judgment as well, because these are people. They're not, fallen entities. So the transition then from Satan's kingdom to Christ's kingdom is going to involve the judgment of all the fallen ones. And Jude talks about those angels who are going to be judged, where it says at the great day, or on the great day. The great day is the day of the Lord, when Jesus comes to rule and reign for 1,000 years. And that judgment is going to be for those angels, so they will not be here during the time of Christ's reign. Okay, so that's what transitions are all about. And then at the end of the millennium, Satan will be released, and there's going to be another time of transition from Christ's earthly kingdom, that is during the millennium. And all the rebels will be brought to the surface. Anybody who does not want to participate in God's eternal kingdom, okay, if they don't want to do that, and they follow Satan and they follow Gog and they march on the holy city, all of those people are going to end up in the lake of fire. Those people will end up in the lake of fire. Okay. And then we have the new this present earth and present heaven being dissolved, and a new heaven and a new earth being created, and we transition into the eternal state. So there you go, kingdoms in transition. All right, Val the Gal, do I think when the dragon casts some of his stars from heaven, it will be only one moment in time or over time? I think it's going to be an extended time. I don't think it's going to be in an instant. I think it'll be over the course of maybe hours or a day or a couple of days or 3 days. I think it's going to be over a period of time. I don't think it's going to be instantaneous. That's just my opinion. I don't really know. So, question from Jeffrey: are the two witnesses part of this transition? The transition from this present age into the next one, they're part of this present age. Okay, this present time. Okay, before we transition into the age, or the time period. I don't really want to call it an age, because the end of this present age will be when Christ returns. But they're going to transition. The two witnesses will actually be killed and caught up into heaven on the day that the beast begins to reign. So they are at the very, very tail end of our, where we all are transitioning to, into going to heaven. So believers are going to be transitioning into heaven as well, just like the fallen angels are going to be transitioning to the earth and then taking over the earth along with the beast and the false prophet. As believers, there's several rapture events, right? 3 different times where believers are going to be transitioned into heaven and replacing the fallen angels as they're being cast to the earth. So yeah, the money in flight, 2 ages are mentioned in the Bible, though. Yeah, there's actually multiple ages. Okay, there's ages past. Paul talks about ages past, talks about this present age, and we talk about the age to come. So yes, yeah, as well as ages past. But the reign of the beast isn't an age. Susie, have I seen any sign of the two witnesses? No, I'm not really expecting to either, not until fall. Okay. And then I think we will. If we are raptured this fall, I think we will see sign of the two witnesses prior to our being taken. So I think we will see them then. So, but remember, the two witnesses aren't a sign, okay? And they're not a sign. So that isn't something we're looking for. I did a video not too long ago. It talks about the signs for believers. We actually have 3 signs. 2 of them are listed in Revelation 12. One was the great sign that happened in 2017, that sign that appeared in heaven. It's a sign you can't tamper with. It's one, that's up there that told us that we're now in the book of Revelation. We're awaiting the second sign, which again is going to be a heavenly sign. I think it's that has to do with the sign of the Pleiades, which is a star sign, as well as the Taurid meteor shower, as well as Satan casting his angels to the earth at that time. That is a sign for us. And then the third sign is actually just prior to when the wrath of God is poured out. And it talks about there was another sign in heaven when we see the angels with the bowls of wrath coming out of the heavenly temple. That's the third sign. And again, it's for us because we're in heaven. So we'll be able to see that. So the two witnesses aren't really a sign for us. They don't really have anything to do with us as believers. Whatever they're doing is their business. So all right. So we've been here an hour and 6 minutes, and I just really want to thank you so much for showing up. We didn't have a huge group of people, but this was sort of spur of the moment. I checked my live streams to see when I'd done my last live stream, and it was in January, and I was like, oh, that was way too long, way too much time. And you know, even though I don't have anything specifically prepared, I thought, you know what, I can bounce off of pretty much anything you guys, want to throw at me. And that also makes for interesting discussion. I hope it does anyway. So thank you all for showing up today. God bless you. And this video will go up under the live section of my YouTube channel. And if you would be so kind as to give it a like, I would really appreciate that. It means a lot to me that if you would do that, and it also helps to get the video out to other people. So, and like with any of my videos that I put out there, leaving a comment, even if it's only just hi or thank you or something like that, is really valuable because the YouTube algorithm notices engagement from real people. Okay, it can also tell when bots are engaging, but engagement from really real people really does help with the algorithm to get it out there to other people. So, and I'll be sure and let you know when the book is ready. The name is Convergence. And we also have a beautiful cover that one of the subscribers to my channel, Ray Lynn, has done. And so I'm just really thankful to her for doing that. And also Kevin Mills is the gentleman who is editing this book. And that's what he does. He edits. So if you have something that you want edited, you can throw your business his way. He's wonderful to work with. He helped me with my first book, A Kingdom of Priests. And honestly, he's just marvelous. So anyway, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you, Rue, for helping out here. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you on another video. And hopefully I'll have a new series up real soon. So we'll see you later. Bye-bye.